Hey everybody, it's your old pal Chuck, and I'm back with another review. And I meant to get this out a little bit sooner, but unfortunately there was some family commitments and a little um, precautionary homework that had to be done. It's better in those regards to be proactive than reactive, so that kind of put off my filming schedule, but we're here now. Um, it's the it's Monday, and we're taking a look at from the Studio Series Gamer Edition, Voyager class Starscream. Now, interesting thing I want to note, this says War for Cybertron. When I went back and looked at my review of the deluxe Starscream from the game, it was Fall of Cybertron. I don't remember if I made a mistake or they're just using the War for Cybertron tagline as a broad thing. Hard to believe that it was over 10 years ago now, since that was part of the Thrilling 30 line. Well, not even over 30. Now, over 10, just exactly 10. We're in the 40th anniversary of Transformers, people. I can't handle that. Now, we're starting off in vehicle mode. And I actually went back and looked at my original review. And as some people are saying now, having the figure in hand, it's not as bad. But there are a few uh, things that you might have an issue with. First of all, I think that original deluxe class vehicle was more of a space jet, where this strikes me as more of a space shuttle. From what I could tell, interestingly enough, the wings are roughly the same size. So because the body is bigger, it does make for a different appearance. That was one of my issues. I felt the wings were too small. But in hand, it's not that bad. My other issue is the weapon storage, but that's just me. They peg in here, and I think it really disturbs the silhouette of the vehicle. I think with those removed, it looks a little bit better, a little cleaner. Other than that, the transformation is different. Um, it's interesting how they handle the arms and stuff like that. Um, with this one, I kind of feel that the parts don't really transform, but they just shift into place. Like there's half transformation. I think we'll get into that more when we get into the full transformation. Other than that, I can say that the colors are much more muted, which I assume is more accurate to the game. The blues are darker, a little more purplish. You have more of the red is more of a that like a burgundy type of color. Um, and then the gray is more of like a instead of that like very light gray, almost white, it's that more metallic gray. But the shuttle is swooshable. Um, One thing I do notice is that there's at times I kind of feel like it's not lined up properly, but I think it's just how things are positioned. But that could be just me. Um, so yeah, I mean there are some differences and stuff like that, but all in all, I don't think the vehicle mode is as bad as we first thought. Um, so what we'll do now is we'll pause and we'll get into the transformation. Okay, so the transformation isn't that bad, but there are some fiddly bits to it. Like I said, it's more like there's half steps, if that kind of makes sense. Maybe you'll see now what I'm talking about. First thing you want to do is flip up this back section here. It's pegs into the rear of the legs, and just bring this whole section up and get it out of the way. Position it however you feel to give yourself, plenty of room. Next, speaking of which, we're going to come down to the legs. Just come in here and flip out the toe. And this is actually kind of cool, but again, I kind of feel like it's a little unfinished. You want to flip down this panel, and then you're going to swing the whole section out. And let me turn it over. There's a tab right where my thumb is that's actually going to, you slide this up, and then what you want to do is that will soft lock the knee into place. Obviously, you can bend the knee when necessary uh, for our posing and stuff, and then just fold that panel back down. And while you're here, go ahead and fold the leg panels, the side little side tail fins here, all the way down, that they're flush. Do it again on this side, and I appreciate that the legs do lock into place, and that does help with posing and stuff. And there you go, get them up like that. The next thing you want to do is we're actually going to come in here and we're going to deal with the arms. And you want to just pull the arms out. Now, going into vehicle mode can be a little tricky because there's a tab here and a slot on this form. You kind of want to like peg them together and then push them in. Actually, what I would suggest doing is just rotate the arm in and push it up all the way. So this shoulder and elbow joint is flush with the nose cone, and do it on the other side, and the arms will actually come together naturally. It's a little easier now that I've done it a couple times, but the first time you really might feel like you're pushing in like a little too tightly. But rotate these out, straighten them up, and then what you want to do is there's a series of double hinges here. Rotate the arms out all the way so it's flush just like that, up, and then bring them down, rotate the arms at the bicep. So you basically want that joint section to look like that. So it's coming along. Next, what you want to do is give yourself a little space back here, and then unpeg this section. You might want to slip a nail in there and just help unpeg the bits right here. Bring that whole nose cone section down. Open up this back section and bring up Starscream's head. Just like that. Rotate, and it's gonna. Some of the joints were a little tight there, so you want to double fold accordion it back, and then close that. This is all soft plastic here, and it's all the same same plastic. This is just painted differently. Fold the nose cone up, and here's a tip if you're having a hard time getting the nose cone out. Open the canopy, just fold it out. That helps. And then once that's up, um, bring this section down. It might dislodge the head. That's okay. It's going to tap into place. Yeah, and this is like one of those weird things where it's like, there we go, there we go. Yeah, you see, it has to sit on an angle of sorts, and there are tabs that will go into the armpit joints. But once you have that done, it does peg into place down there, and then just sit the head back. Now, let's talk about these little side pieces. Um, on the original toy, and even on that original artwork for the toy, they sat just like this. Now, these are separate pieces that you have to attach yourself, but in the instructions, they show them being fanned out like so. It's up to you what you prefer. I mean, I'm not really that familiar with the game, so we're just going to do it like that for sake of accuracy to the instructions and the model. I don't think they blend in as well as they should, but if I'm just going to display it, I would leave it like that. So turn those out, and now we come to the backpack. First thing you might want to do is rotate these uh, the tail fin around, and it will actually it locks in down here and it locks in up there. Next, what you want to do is open up this back section, bring that down, bring that forward, and then bring these parts down and just rotate them down. Don't close anything up on the side yet, and I'll explain why in a minute. Close up the backpack, and now rotate this section up, and it'll soft snap into place. And then this all folds up and pegs into the back. Now, I just want to show you real quick for going into vehicle mode. The instructions actually show you detaching the section here and then folding it out all the way. I would discourage you from doing that because there are tabs on these side parts that actually hold this middle section in place. What I would recommend to avoid warping the plastic, which I think I actually did the first time I transformed this, is opening up these panels first. This basically will move those tabs down and out of the way, and then maybe you can rotate these panels the tail fins down. It's up to you, but then open up this panel to flip out this section. I just think it's a little bit easier, and you're not stretching or warping the plastic as much. So just close that up, and again, this folds in. Make sure it tabs in. And as you can see, you do see what I'm talking about, how this side sits a little lower now, but it's actually not that noticeable. So there you have Starscream in its robot mode. If you would like, you can angle the wings back, one click, a little more, I don't want to say display, but, giving that swept look that we kind of know. The head is on a ball joint. It looks up, looks down, but there's really no side-to-side waggle. In robot mode, it's very similar to what the original toy was like in terms of having the uh, those deep double jointed elbows, uh, the universal joint of the shoulder, universal joint of the hip, deep knee bend. Remember that does lock into place. You have that very nice ankle pivot. So there is a lot of articulation. I almost forgot the hands can also rotate. So put Starscream right there. Let's take a look at the weapons. First, we have this giant mace, which again, I don't remember ever seeing the character use. But then again, I've never played the game. I just watched footage of the game being played, and I think this purple part is actually made from the same plastic as the canopy. There's a very small ridge there on the handle that slides into the tip of the mace, so you know it's facing the right way. And also, when you're pegging it in to the vehicle mode, you see that you have this more flat section. That's where it goes, but that can go into the hand here, and you can do mace stuff. And then we have this, what looks like is a sniper rifle of sorts. Um, the instructions, there's a couple of ways you can do this. I am a little disappointed we don't get anything close to being the null raise. Those hold in the hand, just like so. Remember, I should mention that these weapons are interchangeable to the other War for Cybertron figures as they were in the game. Now, if you notice, the hand kind of holds it a little off. So, of course, the better way to do it has the opening in the back. This arm pops off as if to simulate the transformation of into a weapon. But then here comes the problem, and this is something I think Hasbro needs to address. Excuse me. Um, they've kind of fallen off about having storage for the forearms when you do the weapon mode. I think Optimus Prime had it, Bumblebee had it, Barricade I think had it, Megatron. I don't think really had anything dedicated to it. Starscream doesn't, and that's a little disappointing because if you want to hold the gun like this, and believe me, it works a lot better and looks better than a lot of those other figures I mentioned because of the size of the joint and what have you. You kind of end up that, I mean, the best way I've kind of figured out how to do this is using the hand grip there, but that looks kind of silly. I mean, there's no real post in the back here. Nothing that can it can hold on to. Now you can, of course, store the weapons in the back of the figure here. I mean, I guess you can also put it on the mace, but that looks kind of silly. I mean, if you're storing the mace, maybe this will work out a little. I mean, that kind of works. I mean, personally, I would not use the weapons with Starscream while displaying this, just because I think it breaks up the look of the figure too much. But those are the options you have. Pop the arm back on. So as you can see, um, the figure doesn't look that bad. It's not perfect. It's not wonderful. I think there are some things that original deluxe toy does a little better, but you know, all in all, this isn't that bad of a figure, and I think is a little bit better than what we originally saw in um, those early photos and leaked images and what have you. And again, that goes back to what I'm saying about how you usually cannot trust those early images. So, yeah, I think that's about it for Starscream. We'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. Like I said, I enjoy Starscream. I think it's a good figure. It's not as bad as we first thought. I think overall the original deluxe version from 10 years ago does some things a little bit better. I think there's a little more play value to it, especially when you combine those Gatling guns. But I think this is a little more accurate to the game, which I think a lot of people would be more interested in. You do have the different uh, options with the weapons and swapping them around and stuff like that. I guess in a way, if you collect this whole line, you'll be able to get like your version of the character that you played with. Um, but I mean, as I also mentioned, it really feels like there's a lot of half steps to the transformation. And once you're done, like going from like robot to the spacecraft mold, you're like you don't feel like you're done. You feel like there's like one more step that you have to do. And as I mentioned, the instructions are a little bit unclear in some parts. Um, and I feel that that can end up damaging the figure, or like with these little things, um, they just don't blend in as well. I mean, I appreciate that these were separate pieces underneath the tray, just because this is still an open packaging, so there's a chance that somebody could reach in and take it. Now, um, personally, I'm also a bit disappointed that we didn't get null rays or some sort of matching set of lasers. But then again, not being completely familiar with the game, this might be more accurate to how Starscream and the Seekers work. Speaking of which, while the original deluxes were very easy to getting all three in terms of the price and value, um, I really only maybe see myself buying like if they do Thundercracker or something, just to see this mold in blue. I mean, Skywarp. I mean, to have to pay like over $30 for the same mold two more times, I don't see myself doing that. Speaking of paying, I got this figure from Amazon.com. Like a lot of the figures we've been looking at, this was supposed to be released around February, maybe March, and it's actually coming now, which is funny because originally this is roughly around the time that some of the United figures were supposed to start shipping. So, yeah, stuff is adjusting early, bit by bit, as Amazon gets it in stock. I don't know if these have been found at retail yet, but I do. But like I said, I have this, and then the Studio Series 86 Junkian. What is it? Scrap Heap, the third motorcycle, which is the wave made of Starscream here. So keep an eye out for those if you're interested. Head over to Amazon. I believe Big Bad Toy Store might have them or getting them soon, as well as Hasbro Pulse, and also another independent retailer, Command Store, but they tend to price a little higher. So try to stick with like Amazon or Hasbro Pulse. But that's about it for the review. If you like this review, a like, comment, and subscribe. I will always appreciate the views, the likes, comments, and subscriptions. Help to me to communicate to YouTube through the algorithms that my channel should be exalted and held upon high. If you want to make the ultimate sign of support, I do have a Patreon. It is www.patreon.com/chuckdog1999. All I ask for is $1 a month, $12 a year. No thrills, no tears, no special rewards. As you all know the spiel, all you're doing is helping me help you to help me help you bring figures like this to you, as well as keeping up the infrastructure of the channel. But as I always say, if you can't swing the $1 a month or $12 a year, your views are more than thanks enough. The end of 2023 was a great time for this channel, and that was all because of you guys. And I really do appreciate the support. Let's keep it going into 2024 and really hopefully help establish this channel as one of the main review channels and stuff like that. You've been with me for over 10 years, and it's been nothing but growth. And I, again, really do appreciate that. As I always say, Patreon is just a cherry on top of an already generous Sunday. And that generous Sunday is viewers like you. And now I'm sounding like a PBS pledge drive. So we'll stop here. Once again, this is your old pal Chuck for Voyager Class War for Cybertron Gamer Edition Starscream. We will see you next time.